Assalamu alaikum. My name is Aisha Saeed, third year Doctor of Optometry student from the University of Faisalabad, Alam Tower, Lahore. The topic of today's discussion is ptosis. The content of my presentation consists of definition of ptosis, followed by classification of ptosis, etiology, clinical features, investigation, and finally the treatment of ptosis. The word ptosis comes from the Greek word that means to fall. It is the abnormal low position of the eyelid. Moving towards the definition of ptosis, it is an abnormal drooping of the upper eyelid, or in another words we can say abnormal low position of upper eyelid. Then comes the causes. It includes congenital and acquired. Second portion of our content is the classification of ptosis. Ptosis is classified into congenital ptosis and acquired ptosis. Acquired ptosis is further classified as neurogenic ptosis, myogenic ptosis, aponeurotic ptosis, and mechanical ptosis. We will discuss the etiology. Congenital ptosis. It is caused by maldevelopment of the muscle, tendon, or nerve supply of the levator muscle. It occurs in following forms: simple congenital, Marcus-Gunjo-Winking ptosis, blepharophimosis syndrome. First form of congenital ptosis is simple congenital ptosis. It is usually unilateral but may occur bilateral. Skin eyelid crease is absent. The ptotic lead is higher than normal lead in down gaze due to poor relaxation of levator muscle. Levator function is reduced. As we know that the function of LPS is to maintain the position of upper eyelid. When its function is reduced, it is unable to perform its job properly. The second form is Marcus-Gunjo-Winking ptosis, congenital synkinetic ptosis. It constitutes of about 5% of all congenital ptosis. There is a retraction of ptotic eyelid with jaw movement due to the misdirected cross innervation between oculomotor nerve, that is the third nerve, and mandibular branch of trigeminal nerve supplying to muscles of mastication. Due to this reason, when the person suffering from this type of ptosis opens the mouth, the ptosis fades away, and when he or she closes the mouth, it comes again. The third one is blepharophimosis syndrome. It consists of congenital ptosis, blepharophimosis, tralecanthus, and epicanthus inversus. The acquired ptosis, neurogenic ptosis. Basically, there is an inversion defect of the muscles because the nerves supplying the muscles are not working. The muscles would be unable to work properly. Then comes the acquired ptosis, the neurogenic ptosis. It occurs due to the lesion of the nerves supplying the upper eyelid. The first form of neurogenic ptosis is third nerve palsy. It causes clinically complete ptosis due to the loss of levator function. It is associated with restriction of ocular movement and dilatation of pupil. The second form of neurogenic ptosis is Horner syndrome. It is partial ptosis. It may be associated with epislateral miosis, low lid elevation, and anhidrosis. Myogenic ptosis, an impairment of transmission from the nerve to the muscle of their junction, example myasthenia gravis. Third comes the myogenic ptosis. It is due to the defect of muscles of myoneural junction, that means neuromuscular junction. Its types are myasthenia gravis. It causes unilateral or bilateral ptosis. Ptosis is variable, fatigable, and becomes worse in the evening. It is usually associated with diplopia. The second one is ocular thyropathy. The ptosis is bilateral, associated with restricted ocular movements without diplopia. That means diplopia doesn't occur in it. Myotonic dystrophy is a part of a group of inherited disorders called muscular dystrophies. Aponeurotic ptosis, also known as senile ptosis, in which there is age-related atrophy of the age-related aponeurosis. The fourth one is aponeurotic ptosis. It occurs due to dehiscence, disinsertion, or the stretching of the levator aponeurosis. Its types are involutional or senile, traumatic disinsertion of levator aponeurosis, post-operative due to drug action on aponeurosis. Its features are: it is unilateral or bilateral, skin eyelid crease is at higher level, and the third one, levator function is normal. Then comes the mechanical ptosis. It is due to any weight present on the eyelid that pulls it down. Mechanical ptosis. It occurs due to increased weight on the upper eyelid caused by lesion, for example, eyelid tumor neurofibromatosis, inflammation, large lesion. Signs and symptoms of ptosis. Most obvious sign of ptosis is the drooping of eyelid. Then the upper crease do not line up equally. A child with ptosis may tilt the head back, lift their chin, and try to lift their brows to see clearly, which may cause pain in the neck. We will discuss the clinical features. First one is cosmetic disfigurement. Amblyopia occurs when ptosis covers the whole pupillary area in a child below 9 years of age. The third is squint. Fourth, abnormal head posture occurs in bilateral moderate ptosis when child constantly attempts to elevate the chin to see through lower portion of pupillary area. The fourth is wrinkling of the skin of forehead. Wrinkling of the skin of forehead on attempt to elevate the upper eyelid. Now moving toward the important part, that is investigation. Medical ptosis should be differentiated from surgical ptosis by following tests. First one is tensilon test. It is performed when myasthenia is suspected. The ptosis improves with intravenous injection or endophonium chloride tensilon. Endophonium injection strengthens our muscles, and if our ptosis improves, it is due to myasthenia gravis, and if ptosis does not improve, muscles weakness is due to any other reason. The second test that we can perform is phenylephrine test. This test is carried out in patients with suspected Horner syndrome. The third one is neurological investigations. These investigations are carried out for neurological cause. The fourth one is eyes test. In myasthenia, with the application of eyes over the lid improves the ptosis. The treatment of ptosis. For it is necessary to treat the underlying cause. For example, in myasthenia gravis, treat myasthenia gravis or remove the mechanical cause if ptosis is due to it. The last and final part of our content is treatment of ptosis. The treatment of ptosis depends upon the etiology of ptosis, the degree of ptosis, and the function of levator muscle. All these 3 points must be kept in mind before performing the treatment of ptosis. Medical treatment. It is indicated in myogenic and some cases of neurogenic ptosis according to the underlying cause. Surgical treatment. It is indicated in congenital and all other types, and in ptosis where medical therapy fails. Surgical procedure depends upon the amount degree of ptosis. In unilateral cases, we can find out it by vertical interpalpebral fissure with or both sides is mirrored. The difference in measurement of both the eyes indicate the degree of ptosis, and in bilateral cases, it can be determined by measuring the amount of cornea covered by upper lid and then subtracting 2 mm. Mitosis is from 1.2 to 2 mm and it covers upper part of pupil. Moderate 3 mm covers upper half of pupil, and severe 4 mm or more covers whole pupillary area. Now the second one, assessment of levator muscle function. It is the measurement of extrusion movement of the levator muscle by scale from down gaze to up gaze. The function of levator muscle may be normal 15 to 18 mm, good 9 or more, fair 5 to 8 mm, poor 4 mm or less. The other examinations which are carried before surgery include ocular motility, corneal sensitivity, Bell's phenomena, Marcus-Gunjo winking ptosis. Types of surgical procedure. Façonella Servet operation. It is indicated in mild ptosis 2 mm with good levator function. It involves the excision of a portion of the tarsal plate, conjunctiva and molars muscle. The second one is levator resection. It is indicated in moderate ptosis 3 mm with fair function of levator 5 or 8 mm. It involves the excision of portion of levator muscle aponeurosis. Amount of levator resection depends upon the degree of ptosis. The third surgical option is brow suspension procedure, sling procedure. It is indicated in severe ptosis 4 mm or more with poor levator function 4 mm or less. It involves the attachment of the eyelid with frontalis muscle by facial lata obtained from facial lata or some other non-absorbable suture material. The fourth is aponeurotic strengthening. It is indicated in aponeurotic disinsertion. It involves the advancement of aponeurosis. Then comes the asurgical method to overcome ptosis, that is spectacle probes. Ptosis eye probes are bespoke components installed to eyewear that support the affected eyelid, enabling the eyelid to stay open and allowing an individual to see. I would like to end with a beautiful message that keep your eyes on the stars and your feet on the ground. Thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I hope you find it informative.